AI never sleeps, and this week has been absolutely insane. We have not one, not two, but 4 new voice AIs that are incredibly powerful. Some of these can instantly clone your voice, and others can even run real time on just a CPU. This AI makes super realistic videos of people talking. Like, it's really hard to tell that this was made with AI. We have a new real-time interactive world generator which you can run offline, and the latency is super low. This AI can create a 4D scene from a single video. We have another AI that can generate very realistic and smooth human movements. This AI is crazy. It can transfer anything from a reference video over to a new video, including VFX or camera control, characters, and more. This AI can turn an image into a 3D scene which you can edit further in Blender. We have a new AI that's extremely good at masking and segmenting things in a video, and a lot more. So let's jump right in. First up, this AI is really useful. It's called VIGA, which stands for Vision as Inverse Graphics Agent, and this can basically take a picture and recreate it as a 3D scene that can be edited in Blender. This is basically an AI agent that can autonomously do multiple tasks for you. So for example, you can take this image and then prompt the agent to generate an interactive 3D version of this and then throw a ball into it. This agent would then proceed to reconstruct this 3D scene in Blender, and here's what you get. By the way, it looks really similar to the painting, which is very impressive. And then afterwards, you can throw a ball at the scene like this. Super cool. Or here's another example where we can input this photo and it can reconstruct it very well. And then here are some other examples. It's also really good at handling even reflective materials. And if you throw a ball at the mirror, it also knows to smash it like this. It also understands how each individual object should move and what would happen if you messed around with it like this. Super cool. Now, if you compare VIGA with other AI Blender agents, you can see that VIGA on average gets the best score. And then here are some other benchmarks for your reference. The awesome thing is if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Note that here you do need to have a CUDA GPU. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is super useful. It's called VideoMama, a pretty fun name, and this can basically separate objects from the background in videos. So here's how it works. You would input your video and then input a rough outline or mask of the object you want to separate, and this AI would basically output a very precise outline of this object with a transparent background. So here you can see it added to a green screen, but you can also turn this into an alpha channel like this. Notice that this video is really tricky because her hair is flying all over the place, and this type of hair is just extremely hard to segment accurately, especially in a fast-moving video like this. But as you can see, VideoMama is able to handle this very well. Here's another super challenging example where, let's say we have this reference video and we want to segment the leaves only. So we can just input a very rough outline like this, and it would proceed to segment these leaves very accurately. It's able to mask all these details. And then here is the alpha channel for your reference as well. Very impressive. Here's yet another insanely hard example with this dandelion. Any feathery texture like this is just super hard to mask out with traditional methods. But after plugging it through this AI, look how good the segmentation is. And then here is the alpha channel for your reference. This is very impressive. Here are some even harder examples of the cigarette with smoke, and it's still able to, segment the cigarette plus the smoke very well. And then here's the alpha channel. You can see it can also do translucency where it's not just completely black and white. Very impressive. Here's another tricky example with hair flying all over the place. And if you look at some quantitative results in terms of all these different benchmark scores, basically this new VideoMama performs the best. The awesome thing is if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released the code to this. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Plus, they've also released the code on how to generate your own training dataset and how to train it. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is super powerful. This is called LightOnOCR, and this is a super tiny 1 billion parameter model that's incredibly good at optical character recognition. In other words, it can take a really complicated image and parse all the text from the image. Here are some examples. For example, here is a super complicated table on the left with all these different columns and items, plus some notes on the right, plus a legend at the bottom. But you can just plug this entire screenshot into this OCR, and it's able to parse everything, as you can see here. And all these numbers are actually accurate. Or here's another example where you can just plug in a screenshot of this research paper and it can parse everything into raw text on the right. Here's another example where we can take a screenshot of this post and it's able to parse it very nicely like this. However, note that it can't do emojis, as you can see here. Or you can also feed it a scan of this book and it's able to transcribe it very well. The crazy thing is this is only like 1 billion parameters, so it's super lightweight. You can even run this on consumer grade hardware, and it's state of the art across many different benchmarks, including handling archive papers or old scans or tables. You can see it even beats DeepSeek OCR, which is way larger, plus Baidu's Paddle OCR, both of which are state-of-the-art, but this new LightOnOCR is even better, at least according to this table. Here's another chart showing the performance of LightOnOCR versus the speed, and as you can see, this is not only better, but also way faster than the other competitors. The awesome thing is they've released everything already, so here are the links to all the models. If I just click on this base one, the total size of everything is only 2 gigabytes in size, so you can comfortably fit this within like most consumer grade GPUs. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below. Also this week, NVIDIA releases a real-time conversational AI, which you can talk to. Best of all, this is free and open source. So it's called PersonaPlex, and here are some demos.
You want to hear a funny joke?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't even said it yet, but
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it's going to be really funny when I actually say the joke.
Okay.
So why did the picture go to prison?
To get away from the mirror.
No, because it was framed.
Oh. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any more? I've got one more for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What do you call a fake noodle?
A fake noodle? I don't
Or
know.
pasta?
Okay, nice.
Now you can even prompt it with like a system prompt to describe the role of this AI voice. So for example, you are a wise and friendly teacher, answer questions or provide advice in a clear and engaging way. And here's an example.
I've been thinking about starting a diet. Yeah, starting a diet can feel a bit daunting, but you could keep it simple. Focus on eating more veggies and fruits.
Before I forget, I signed up for a marathon.
All right, congrats on signing up for the marathon. That's a big challenge. You've got a lot of time. Focus on building a solid base with regular long runs. Stay hydrated. Make sure you fuel right before and after. And don't forget to stretch and take care of your feet.
Or here's another example where the system prompt is you work for First Neuron Bank, which is a bank, and your name is Sani Virtanen. The customer's transaction for $1,200 at Home Depot was declined. Verify customer identity, etc., etc. So let's see how this performs in this customer service scenario.
I'm stuck here in line at Home Depot. I've got a bunch of tools that I'm trying to buy, and my card got declined. Can you?
Oh, no, that's never fun. Let me check your account. Can I get your full name and date of birth, please?
Yeah, my name is James Hammer, and my date of birth is March 7, 1952.
Thanks, James. Let me pull that up real quick. One moment, please. Okay, so I see the issue. There was a transaction for $1,200 at Home Depot. Your usual location is Seattle, but the transaction was attempted in Miami. That's what triggered the flag. Would you like me to resubmit the transaction?
Yes, please. Please do.
All right, done. I've confirmed your identity. The transaction should go through now. You'll get a confirmation email soon.
Okay, let me try that.
No problem.
Cashier
Let me know if it works.
Cashier said it worked. Great.
Awesome. Thanks for confirming.
So a super smooth and natural customer service example. All right, here's another example. This time, the AI voice is the receptionist at Dr. Jones' medical office.
Welcome to Dr. Jones's office. How can I help you today?
Howdy, my name's James Carrollton, and I was told to call this number to register as a new patient.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're happy to have you register. First, I'll need to get your basic information. May I have your full name, please?
Yeah, it's just James Carrollton. That's it, no middle name.
Got it. James Carrollton. Now, your date of birth?
That'll be August 19th, 1974.
Okay, August 1974. Now, do you have any medication allergies? Like if something causes a reaction, we want to know right away.
Oh, no, definitely not. That's not me.
All right, no allergies. How about tobacco use? Do you smoke or use e-cigarettes or anything like that?
A really smooth use case of a medical office receptionist collecting information from new patients. It can also act super conversational, like it can also add these agreement words like, oh, okay, yeah, as if they're actually actively listening and conversing with the user.
You need to come visit me, because you can go into the city.
Okay.
That's the thing, like, there's like the random spray paint, but then there's also like, I'm not sure, people must commission them. Like these massive, like, mural spray paint pieces.
Yeah, I think they do.
Alright, so those are some quick examples. Note that this is built on this Moshi architecture with 7 billion parameters, so it's relatively tiny. Now, the awesome thing is if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released the models to this. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Down here, it also gives you a prompting guide on how you can set this up for various scenarios. They haven't specified the VRAM requirements, but if I click into the Hugging Face folder, the total size of everything is around 17 gigabytes, so you might be able to fit this with like 16 gigabytes with some offloading. Plus, because this is open source, I'm sure the community is going to also offer some quantized, more compressed versions of this in the future. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Alibaba continues to release some really cool animation AIs. This one is called CoDance, and it can animate multiple characters in an image and make them move and dance. So here are various examples. All you need to do is input one reference image plus a pose skeleton moving like this, and as you can see, it can get multiple characters to move or dance according to the pose animation. And it doesn't matter if it's anime or 3D or any artistic style. It also doesn't matter if these characters are like non-human aspect ratios, it's still able to animate all of them quite consistently. Now, if you compare this with other competitor animation tools like Animate Anyone, Mimic Motion, UniAnimate, etc., you can see that especially if you enter multiple characters in your reference image, then these other competitors have a ton of errors, especially if the characters aren't like in human proportions. But for this new CoDance AI, it's able to animate multiple characters and any type of character, even cartoons, 3D, or like creatures with irregular non-human proportions. Really quickly, here's the architecture behind it, and here's how it works. So CoDance uses a two-part approach called unbind and then rebind. The unbind part basically helps the tool learn how to animate characters without being too rigid or strict. And then this rebind component helps the tool precisely control the animation and makes sure it's applied to the right characters. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, currently they've only released a technical paper. There's no indication whether they will open source this or not. But anyways, if you're interested in reading further or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main project page in the description below. Next up, this AI is really cool. It's called Waypoint 1, and this is a real-time interactive video generator. The latency is actually super low. They even have an online demo for you to try this out. So if you scroll down here, here is the link to try this out. So let me click into this, and then let's press start. Alright, so down here I can describe a scene, or I can move my mouse to look around. And then I can also press the arrow keys to move around like this. So down here, let me describe a scene like a cyberpunk city, and let's see what it generates. And the transition was super fast, so it indeed applied a cyberpunk city. Now, as you can see, it hallucinates a lot. The video quality is pretty awful. It's not good at consistency. This hallucinates a lot. It definitely does not have memory of a scene, but hey, this is a real-time video generator, and there's almost like zero latency. Here's another example. Let's try prompting something like a colorful alien planet, and now it's slowly switching to this colorful alien planet, as you can see here. Now, there's actually two variants of this, a small variant and a medium variant, which is coming soon. And they've already released the small model. If you click into it, it's actually relatively tiny for an open source model. So the total size of everything is like 25.2 gigabytes. And then on this page, which I'll link to in the description below, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Anyways, if you're interested in trying this demo out or reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, here's a super useful AI called OmniTransfer. This is actually insanely powerful because you can take anything from a reference video and transfer it over to a new video. For example, if you have this burning heart effect in your reference video, well, you can choose to transfer that VFX over to your new video. Or here's another VFX where we can like flip the character like this. This AI can basically copy that VFX over to your new video like this. Or here's another example. Now, instead of just copying VFX, you can also copy the expressions and motions of someone from a reference video onto your new character like this. And it doesn't just have to work with human characters. So here's an example of this 3D character, but as you can see, it can completely copy the motion of your reference video. All right, here's a really weird example where we can get Mona Lisa to dance based on this reference video. Or we can get this Ultraman character to do gymnastics like this. Now, in addition to transferring pose and VFX, this can also just transfer the camera motion of a video onto a new video. So here's an example of that. Or here's another example where we can have this orbit left camera movement. And here's another example where we can zoom in and out exactly like the reference video. It can even copy this parallax zoom effect from the reference video. Super cool. In addition to copying the VFX or the pose or the camera movement of a video, you can just also directly transfer the character of a video onto a new video. So on the left is the reference video. We can prompt this woman to do something else, as you can see on the right. Or we can get this boy to do homework in a kitchen like this. And it's actually really good at face consistency. These characters do look exactly like the reference videos. Now, in addition to all of the above, you can also choose to just transfer the style over to your new video. So for example, the reference video is on the left. Well, we can transfer the style over with a new prompt like this, and here's what we get. Anyways, there are a ton of examples on this page. Like the name implies, OmniTransfer can pretty much transfer anything. It's a super powerful video editing tool. And here's the thing, if you compare this with other video generators, in terms of copying VFX, you can see that OmniTransfer is by far the best one. The others aren't even close. The same goes for copying the expressiveness and the movements of a reference character. You can see that OmniTransfer is also the best and the most expressive. OneAnimate comes pretty close, but OmniTransfer does it even better. Same with creating deepfakes and copying a character from a video over to a new video. OmniTransfer is just a lot more consistent than the other methods like stand-in and phantom, which I've gone over on my channel before. And then same with style transfer. This is just way better at transferring the style of a video compared to other methods. Now, at the top of the page, they have released a technical paper plus a GitHub repo, but unfortunately on this page there's no indication whether they will release this or not. But anyways, if you're interested in reading further or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Speaking of AI tools, you've got to check out Artlist, the sponsor of this video. Artlist is the ultimate platform for video creators. They have the ideal combination of the best and latest AI models, curated music, sound effects, and digital assets. They just launched this new AI Toolkit feature, which brings AI image, video, and voice tools into one organized workspace. So you're not jumping between tabs or tools just to get something done. Everything feels familiar if you already use AI, but it's faster, cleaner, and way more powerful. For example, I can directly use the top video models out there, including Sora 2, Veo 3.1, Kling 01, LTX2, and more, all in the same interface. For example, let's select Veo 3.1 and let's generate a low-angle tracking shot of a small fox trotting nimbly through the forest. The fox stops, alertly perking up its ears. And here's what we get. Or instead, let's try Sora 2 Pro, and this time let's make a video of someone baking a chocolate cake. And here's our result.
Crack in the eggs and whisk until smooth. Stir in flour and cocoa, then pour...
Plus, they also released the Artlist Original 1.0 model. This is their first image model trained on Artlist's own high-quality footage. It's extremely good at realistic professional cinematography. For example, let's do a macro photograph of a honeybee collecting nectar from a bright sunflower. And here's our result. Look how realistic this is. Artlist is the ultimate resource for creators. And this is just the beginning. There's going to be a lot more to come from Artlist in 2026, so stay tuned. Try it today via the link in the description below. Also this week, we have a new state-of-the-art text-to-speech generator. This is by Alibaba and it's called Qwen3 TTS, and it's really powerful and flexible. You can clone anyone's voice with just a few seconds of their voice and make them say anything. So for example, here's the reference voice.
G'day cobbers, my voice is a fair dinkum Aussie voice. Great for a ripper yarn about life down under. You'll be a true blue Aussie in no time, mate.
And here's the generation.
There's nothing more Australian than a fair dinkum surf session at Bondi with board shorts and zinc on your nose.
Or you can also control emotions. For example, here's the transcript. You can get him to speak this out in a very sad and tearful voice.
She said she would be here by noon.
Or here's a very happy tone.
She said she would be here by noon.
Or here's a super angry tone.
She said she would be here by noon.
Plus, you can even just enter a prompt to design your own voice from scratch. So for example, here is a very old man with a weak, raspy voice.
Back in my day, we didn't have much, but we knew how to make it last.
Or here's a cartoon chipmunk voice.
Back in my day, we didn't have much, but we knew how to make it last.
Now, I already did a full review video on it, so I won't repeat too much here. See this video if you want to learn more and install it on your computer. Now, in addition to Qwen3 TTS, we have another incredibly powerful text-to-speech called LuxTTS. This is super lightweight, which means you can basically run this at speeds that even exceed real time on just a CPU. So here's a quick demo.
The package will arrive at the front door tomorrow morning, and there's something super cool.
I am hungry for blood. I want to drink some blood!
Please, you need to step away from the edge right now. Please, step away from it.
Sesquipedalian scholars' floxinoxenile lipolification of the pseudopsychotherapeutic method was punctuated by an honor rarely seen in such anti-disestablishmentarian circles.
Now, if you look at their Hugging Face repo, notice that the total size of everything is only like 1.18 gigabytes. So here it says you can even reach like 250 times real time, which basically means it's really real time, on a single GPU, and you can even achieve real time on just a CPU. In addition, they've released a free Hugging Face space for you to try this out online. So let's click into this, and let's paste in a pretty tricky transcript with the same words but different pronunciations, like over here and over here. And then here's where we enter a reference audio. So let's enter a clip of Trump. Let me play you the original reference clip first.
Now I have to also see, because it takes two people to tango, and I say it all the time.
And then feel free to play around with all of these settings, but I'm just going to leave it at the default, and then click Generate Speech. All right, and here's what I got.
The record producer refused to record the band's new single. The wind was too strong to wind the kite string around the spool.
And it's pretty good. Now, I would say it doesn't sound exactly like Trump. I think Qwen3 TTS or other state-of-the-art tools like VibeVoice, Index TTS, they all can clone a voice better, but this is super lightweight. Again, this is like just 1 gigabyte in size, so that's the advantage of this LuxTTS. Anyways, if you're interested in trying this out, all the instructions are over here on how you can install it and run it locally on your computer. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main GitHub repo in the description below. And we are not done with voice, so we have another super useful voice model this week, and this time it's from Microsoft. It's called VibeVoice ASR. Now this is basically the opposite of text-to-speech, so this is for converting audio into text, or basically transcription. Here they released a free interface for you to try this out, so let's try a quick example. Here is where I would upload an audio clip, or I can just record some audio over here. Let me drag a quick audio file. This is from a sponsor's integration. Let me play you the first few seconds of this. Speaking of AI tools, you've got to check out Artlist, the sponsor of this video. Artlist is the ultimate platform for video creators, and so on and so forth. This is like almost 2 minutes long, and then here you can add some custom context for better recognition, but I'm just gonna leave it empty, and I'm just gonna leave all the settings the same and click on transcribe, and let's see what we get. Now, this is super quick. As you can see, within 6 seconds, it has already finished transcribing this entire thing. This is way faster than other open source transcription tools like OpenAI's Whisper. And the awesome thing is it got a lot of like complex names correct. For example, Artlist, and then Sora 2. It could not get VO 3.1, but it was pretty close, but it did get Kling and LTX 2. Now, because it made a mistake on VO 3.1, what I could do instead is actually add these custom terms over here. So for example, I can add VO 3.1, or if I want to spell Kling in capital letters, I can do like this, just so it knows to spell it this way when it encounters these words. Now, here are some additional specs. This accepts up to 60 minutes of continuous audio input. So you can plug in, an entire long podcast into this to transcribe at once. It also has consistent speaker tracking and semantic coherence across the entire hour. So back to my example transcript over here, cracking the eggs and whisk until smooth, etc., etc. This is indeed from another speaker. So here it correctly identified that this is speaker 1 and not speaker 0, which is myself. Super impressive. Now here are some benchmark scores for your reference. In terms of error rate, VibeVoice ASR has by far the lowest error rate, even compared with the state-of-the-art models out there, which are like hundreds of times larger. Here are some other error rates, and again, across the board, VibeVoice ASR just has the least amount of errors. Also note that this supports over 100 languages. So let me just click on this link to show you all the languages that it supports. All of these languages were part of its training data. Pretty cool. So especially if you want to transcribe some audio with these rarer languages, then VibeVoice ASR is currently the best free option for you to use. The awesome thing is they've released everything already. So if you click on this GitHub repo, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. The cool thing is they've even released the code for you to fine-tune LoRa's from this. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is pretty cool. It's called FrankenMotion, and this can generate human motions like walking or throwing or sitting from text prompts. As you can see in this example, you can string like multiple actions together. For example, here we have a person walking, then turning around, then sitting down on a chair, and then standing up and then walking again. But it's able to generate this very realistically. And it can generate the pose skeleton of that person, plus it can also control individual body parts like the arms, the legs, the pelvis to create realistic movements. Here's another complex example where we have a person leaning back and forth while bringing hands to face, then they kneel to tie the left shoe, then they stand up, then cup their hands to mouth while swiveling left and right. And it's actually able to handle this very well. These are really tricky prompts that, normal video generators aren't able to capture very well. Or here's another example where the prompt is the person starts in T pose, then lower arms, stands in place, grabs the item with the right hand, passes it to the left hand, places it on a table, and then raises arms back to T pose again. And indeed, it's able to generate this very accurately. Here's another pretty complex example, as you can see from the prompt above, but it's able to render this very well. Notice again that it's able to break these continuous movements down into individual actions, as you can see in the bottom bar, and also individual parts of the body. Now, if you compare this with other similar tools like Unimotion or Dart Control or STMC, you can see that on average, FrankenMotion performs more realistically. Here are some other examples for your reference. Now, while these generations by themselves might not be much, these could be very useful for training data for humanoid robots as well as for video generators to learn how to create more realistic movements. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and here it says that they will release the full code plus pre-trained models and the entire dataset, which is fantastic. For now, if you're interested in reading further or checking out more examples, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is pretty crazy. It's called FlowAct R1, and this can create streaming and infinite length videos of people talking. You can even generate this in real time at a stable 25 frames per second and 480p resolution, with a startup latency of only around 1.5 seconds. So you just need to input some audio. This could be just yourself talking in real time, plus you would enter a reference image of the character and the background, and then you can also add in an optional text prompt to condition this further. But afterwards, you get a very realistic video of someone talking in real time. Here are some examples.
没有这些特征咋办？没有这些特征，就是你可以信可以不信啊，没有就没有啊。比如说别人说，假如说别人说那个天蝎座眉眼间距都很近，然后呢我的眉眼间距不是很近，那咋办？然后呢我就去为了符合这个特征，我就去做个那个整某容啊，我把它们拉到一起，本来是这样，然后给它拉，用个整。
为你加冕啊，小宝子，小宝子，加冕，可实诚了，必须的，必须的，咱实打实的，有多高说多高。
So as you can see, all of these look super realistic. It's getting harder and harder to tell that these videos are generated with AI. The really cool thing is it's not just a head that talks, right? It's actually able to generate some really natural and expressive behaviors, like sometimes they move their head around, sometimes they move their hands, etc., which makes it super realistic.
打个 PK 直接就给我弄掉了，你知道吗？我刚刚巨卡手机。欢迎大家，欢迎新来的朋友，谢谢少女心的加团。
You can see this girl's like brushing her hair. She's like kind of looking at the screen. I mean, everything looks way more realistic and human-like compared to other AI talking videos that you might be familiar with from before. Here's some other crazy demos.
Exactly what's going on and what is expected as part of that clinical supervision.
Mm-hmm. And so for some folks that are doing only clinical supervision, but not doing the second part, which is administrative supervision, clinical supervisors tend to define themselves as we're staffing cases, we're looking at countertransference and transference, we're looking at self-therapist work, like we're doing the meat of what most of us as supervisors love to do, which is the clinical component of tell me about your clients and how you're feeling about them and the work that you're doing.
A toned down version than in the US. Like, how did you find that out?
Yeah, so we with that specific campaign, it was performing really well in the US. Same offer, same type of targeting, and then we took the same script.
And this doesn't just have to work with humans. So here are some examples with some different artistic styles. And here's the thing, if you compare the win rate of this new FlowAct R1 with other competitors like Kling Avatar or Live Avatar or OmniHuman 1.5, which I've gone over on my channel before, by far FlowAct R1 wins the majority of the time. And I mean, qualitatively speaking, just from these demos, it does seem to be like insanely realistic. So here are some comparisons for your reference. FlowAct is the second column, and as you can see, this dude just moves a lot more realistically, as if he's like an actual live streamer. You know, the other tools are not bad, but as you can see, like for Live Avatar, his face kind of changes, and then for OmniHuman 1.5, it can't really do longer durations. Kling Avatar 2.0 is actually really good, but he doesn't really move, he just stays at that one position, so it's not as natural, whereas you can see for FlowAct R1, the dude is moving all over the place, he's moving his hands and fingers. This looks way more natural. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, right now they've only released a technical report. This is quite groundbreaking, so there's no indication whether they will actually open source this or not. But if you're interested in reading further or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, we have a new open source video generator. It's called Linum V2, and the really crazy thing is, this wasn't made by some huge AI company with a lot of funding or with a ton of GPUs. This was just made by a team of 2 brothers, and apparently they trained this model completely from scratch, starting with text to video. Now here are some sample generations for your reference. You can see the quality of this isn't as good as the leading open source video generators out there, such as Qwen 2.2 or LTX2, which has audio natively built in. And the limitation of this is this can only generate like 2 to 5 second clips, whereas For WAN 2.2, we already have like Stable Video Infinity, which can generate much longer clips. And for LTX2, it can also generate like clips of up to 20 seconds or even longer. But nevertheless, this is still very impressive considering that it's just a team of 2 who trained this from scratch. So here are some additional specs. This is a 2 billion parameter text-to-video model. So it can only do text to video, it can't do like image to video or other capabilities yet. And they released 2 different versions. One can generate 720p and the other can generate 360p. If I click into this 721, even though this is like 2 billion parameters, this is still pretty huge with a total size of 18 gigabytes. Anyways, on these Hugging Face repos, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. If you're interested in checking out more demos or reading their story, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is also super fascinating. It's called Motion 3 to 4, and this can basically take a character from a video and turn them into 4D, in other words, a 3D video. So for example, let's say we have this video of a boxing hamster. Well, we can turn this character into 4D like this. It's basically a 3D scene, but the 4th dimension is time. Or here's another example of this dancing panda. Now, in addition to like fictional characters, this can also take in a real video and segment the character from that and generate it in 3D, as you can see in this example. Or here's another example for your reference. Now, it's not perfect. There are some errors with the segmentation and the bunny's face in this example. This can also transfer the motion of one 4D scene onto another object. So for example, if the source is on the left, well, we can transfer this motion onto this chicken or this dinosaur like this. Anyways, if you scroll up to the top of the page, the awesome thing is they've released the code to this already. If you scroll down a bit here, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Plus, they've also released the training code to this, as well as the code on how to evaluate it. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, we have a new state-of-the-art vision model, which is called Step3 VL 10B. This is basically a language model with vision capabilities, which means it can analyze images or even potentially video. Here are some impressive use cases. You can give it this image and get it to generate the Morse code for step fun, and it would think through the process and give you this final answer. So this is the Morse code for step fun. Or you can just feed it this screenshot. It's quite complex with this sidebar plus a lot of code plus this diagram, and then ask it what's the minimum number of chapter text files the student has opened, and it's actually reasoning through the screenshot and trying to count the number of text files. And here it gives us the final answer, which is indeed 5. It's also pretty good at graph reasoning. So here's a pretty complex graph, and then you can ask it how many edges have the shortest length, and so it's analyzing the image and reasoning through everything and giving you the answer of 4, which is indeed correct. If you compare StepFun VL with other larger state-of-the-art models, I'm not sure why they're still using Gemini 2.5 and not Gemini 3, but anyways, you can see that StepFun is way smaller at only 10 billion parameters, whereas the other ones are like hundreds of billions of parameters in size. But as you can see, the average score is pretty much on par with these larger models. Here are some other benchmark scores for your reference, and again, this tiny 10 billion parameter model performs pretty close to the flagship models out there. Here are some other scores on like STEM and multimodal reasoning, recognition and general visual questions, counting, 2D and 3D spatial understanding, and basically on average it either scored the best or is pretty close to the state-of-the-art larger models out there. The awesome thing is this is open source, so if you click on this GitHub repo, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. And you know, this is actually pretty small. For a state-of-the-art visual model out there, it's only 10 billion parameters, and if I click on the Hugging Face repo, the total size of everything is only 20 gigabytes in size. So you can even fit this with a 4090. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, NVIDIA releases a very interesting AI called Motive. This helps improve the quality of AI videos by figuring out which parts of the training data are most important for creating realistic motion in videos. For example, if you want to generate a video of a foam cube floating on water, this is quite a physically tricky motion for the AI generator to get correctly. So in the training data, how this works is they have this score called I, and it applies it to relevant clips. For example, things related to water or things floating in water. Basically, here are some examples of clips with high motion similarity. Now, in contrast, it also has clips which are completely irrelevant or they have like a negative influence. So you can see like all these clips are completely irrelevant or they can even harm the understanding of how a foam cube floats on water. Here's another example. If the goal is to understand how an orange rolls on a counter, here are all the videos from the training data that it has selected, which are the most important or relevant, and then conversely, here are all the clips that have a negative influence or they have like conflicting dynamics. And basically what they found is that if you add this motive framework during training to selectively choose the clips to train the AI on certain tricky actions, then it actually improves the quality of generated videos by 8%. And for all these benchmarks like background consistency, motion smoothness, dynamic degree, aesthetic quality, it performs much better than just the base model or just fine-tuning. It also has a 74% win rate versus just the base model. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a technical paper and they say the code is coming soon, which is fantastic. For now, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. And that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Which piece of news was your favorite, and which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.